Wiley stories?
No, Wiley's, not yet, but that'll come when I get home, I'm sure. Leaving him
He's
alone.
not eating your bedroom slippers and stuff like that?
He's leaving the shoes alone is appropriate, but not going to be out.
Yeah.
But, he's still more interested in things. Generally, if we leave the back door open so he can get in and out.
He's good with that?
He tends to not do that.
My dad has been upset with because the puppy grabbed dad's underwear whenever he got to take it outside.
Yeah, he would do that, he would grab everything.
Yeah.
He still does like a stance on him.
Like, no, the good one.
And of course, he's a snotty dog, and he's always touching me with the houses.
So you got
I
the
get
slobber.
dressed when he's touching my shirt, thank you.
The slobber factory,
He's got Wiley snot all over your vest.
Strategically placed the coats at the
Yeah.
front door, just outside.
Right.
number 16. Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in a place just right, to be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn, to be our divine Lord, we become round right. One more time. Give me something to give to be, tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and forget we shall be unpicked. To turn, will be our delight from our good, when we come round right.
There we go. Thank you, Todd. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or, as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. We begin this morning, as usual, by welcoming all of you, embracing all that you come with, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, all that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. And this includes those of you who are in the room with us, whether you are regular attendees or maybe visiting for the first time, you're equally as welcome and appreciated. And of course, it includes those of you who are live streaming with us. We're live streaming again, right, Todd? Yay! Thank you for getting that working. And by the way, I wasn't here last Sunday. You probably noticed, but for those of you who are live streamers, we apologize that we had 2 weeks of gremlins attacking our system. But glad to have you this morning. So welcome back, and welcome a special welcome to those of you who are Zooming with us. We have a Zoom group that meets with us, of course, during our first service. If anybody wants to start something like that during our second service, you'd be more than welcome to. But let's take a second now to check in with our friends on Zoom. Who do we have this morning?
Good morning, Todd. We have
Hi, Stephen.
about 11 people at the moment in the group. A lot of our regulars. At the moment, I don't know if anybody is joining us for the first time. Perhaps whoever is can say hello to Todd, but a lot of our regulars.
Well, we like regulars. They keep things regular around here. Well, yeah, let's see. Let me pick on somebody. Oh, I'd have to get up close to the screen. Let me see. See who we have up there. Oh, I see David in BC. I'm actually heading up that way this week. David, how are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well, I guess. I mean, my mom just passed away a little while ago, so there's been memorials and things happening like that. So, and I'm a little bit sad because my regular church starts up again in September. So this is probably next week will probably be the last one I'll be able to attend because I'm on the worship team. So I'll be there at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm happy to be here, and I was happy to do visit these services over the summer.
Well, we're so glad to have you, and glad we got a chance to say hi then, since we won't be seeing you for a while. Would they not be willing to move the hour of their services?
I'll check, but I'll definitely be coming to the NAU services on the third Sunday.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Now, I as I said, I'm actually heading out tomorrow. I'm going to spend a few days in BC, How's the weather up there for me? How should I pack?
It's been very warm for the last few days, but it's going to be cooling off starting tomorrow. And I can't translate between Celsius and Fahrenheit, but it's going to be down to about 20 degrees Celsius. So that's not very cold, but it's not warm like we have been. And there's a little bit of smoke in the air
Okay,
from forest fires. Not bad, but a little bit.
wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the report, and maybe I'll bump into you while I'm there. So,
Okay, that'd be nice.
yeah, great. Well, welcome again to everyone, whether you're in person, live streaming, or Zooming with us. Thank you all for taking a little extra time this morning to say hello. Let's take a few moments now to greet one another. And again, if you're visiting with us for the first time, don't be shy. Nobody bites. There's a lot of barking around here, but no biting. So please greet one another.
You can unmute for a few minutes and
Okay, it's always a more time to visit with one another during our chalice lighting. I'm starting our social hour, but now it's time for our chalice lighting. The chalice is the symbol of our faith, symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening reflection today is from a book called The Scout Mindset: Why Some People See Things Clearly and Others Don't, by Julie Eklof. The scout is not indifferent. A scout might hope to learn that the path is safe, that the other side is weak, or that there's a bridge conveniently located where his forces need to cross the river. But above all, he wants to learn what's really there, not fool himself into drawing a bridge on his map where there isn't one in real life. Being in scout mindset means wanting your map, your perception of yourself and the world, to be as accurate as possible. Of course, all maps are imperfect simplifications of reality, as a scout well knows. Striving for an accurate map means being aware of the limits of your understanding, keeping track of the regions of your map that are especially sketchy or possibly wrong. And it means always, always being open to changing your mind in response to new information. In scout mindset, there is no such thing as a threat to your beliefs. If you find out you were wrong about something, great. You've improved your map, and that can only help you.
Please stand as you're willing and able and join me for number 1021, Lean on Me. Sometimes in our life, we don't admit we don't have tomorrow for us. If we are wise, we know that there is always tomorrow. Lean on me. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll tell you carry on forward. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody here to lead me on. Please swallow your pride. If I can please, you need to walk forward. No one can do those of your needs that you want good and shine on me. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on forward. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to be on. If there is a truth you have to bear, that you can't with me. I am right up to you. I'll tell you, Lord, if you just call me, lean on me. When I'm strong, I'll be your friend. I'll have you carry on forward. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just come on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I was not as a brother that could understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on, lean on.
Thank you. We are now going to kindle a candle of care of those who are most on hearts and minds this morning. And we'll begin on behalf, kindling a candle on behalf of the people of Ukraine that we have been for some time now. People being impacted in that region of the world by the violence there. And we'll continue to kindle a candle for the people in Maui and Hawaii and their loved ones who are still undergoing the ramifications not only of that disaster, but of the loss of loved ones and friends and people whom they're not even sure where they're at this point. So our hearts go out. I also want to kindle a candle in recognition of a good friend of mine, brilliant man who passed away last week, Reverend Dr. Finley Campbell. For those who remember, Finley came here and spoke a few months back. He was just shy of his 89th birthday. Finley is the founder of UMIAC, the Unitarian Universalist Multiracial Unity Action Committee. And he was just an incredibly good soul who stayed active and vibrant and enthusiastic and committed right up to the end, even when he was in hospice. I remember calling him under hospice care, and he launched right into what we need to do to make the future better. So he was unstoppable, and his legacy is going to continue as Umiak continues on in his good work. But just wanted to let you know one of the highlights of recent years was Finley coming here to speak at this church. And by the way, he was really too old and had ill health to be doing that, but he did it anyway. And he stood tall and proud in this pulpit. And, it was just great to have him, and I'm gonna miss him. So let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others that you might be thinking of, and as always, you'd be welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. Now, bear with me just one second. Just wanted to make sure we actually had envelopes in the order of service before I mentioned we're having a special collection this morning. Obviously, there's been a lot of people suffering from fires around the world, but including in our own area. So, because of the devastation the Gray and Oregon road fires have caused in our own community recently, we're holding a second special collection this month today. And if you want to make a donation that would go to the Red Cross to serve that purpose, please use the special collection envelope. You don't have to seal it as usual, but and if you want to go online and contribute to this, you can do so on our website. Just indicate it's for the today's special collection, and we'd appreciate your generosity in advance. So we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and obviously our mission to the larger world.
Madeline, beautiful. Thank you. So, I am this morning for our ladies to announce a new church holiday. It is Nursery Caregiver Appreciation Sunday. And you may not see these two young women on Sunday mornings because they are in the nursery giving care to the youngest members of our congregation, the youngest members of our community, I should say. This is Emma and Bella Hernandez. And Emma graduated from Lewis and Clark High School in 2002, having completed 2 years of Running Start. So she'll be headed to Whitworth next year as a second-year student, pursuing a degree in education. And she's also an RA at Duval Hall. Her sister Bella recently graduated from Lewis and Clark just this past year and will be joining Emma at Whitworth. I get their names mixed up, even though I've known them for years now. Bella will be joining Emma at Whitworth and exploring a degree in music, business, education, or whatever else comes up, right? That's the beauty of being an undecided freshman. They both really enjoy music in addition to providing care for young children. Emma plays multiple instruments, saxophone, piano, clarinet, and guitar. And Bella loves singing and has participated in multiple choirs. And they've actually been a part of this church for quite a while. So I'm going to let them share a little bit about what it was like growing up here, and then a little bit about what it's like giving care in the nursery on Sundays.
Hi, thank you for having us. Thank you, Stephanie, for appreciating us. Um, we've been part of the church since we were I was 8 and she was 6. We kind of really grew up here and just kind of seen the changes that the church has gone through. Um, we were very much involved as kids in youth groups, and it's really cool to now have grown up and we're part of building that community for our church youth, which we would really hope it would grow more and kind of get back to how it felt when we were younger. We just love working with the kids, and if you know anybody who has really young kids, we're back there and we're always happy to take care of people and just be part of this community. So thank you, and I hope you all are well.
Thank you, Emma. Would you like to share anything? She said it all.
She
took all the words. She took all the words. Oh, well, we really, really do appreciate all of the care that you give our little ones and the respite that you give their parents so that their parents can enjoy time in the sanctuary on Sundays. And so we're going to send this home with you after the second service because it looks so pretty up here.
Yeah, it looks great.
But you can use this to adorn your dorm room in Duval Hall. So join me in a round of applause to appreciate Emma and Bella this morning. Thank you.
As we move into a time of meditation, you're invited to find a comfortable, receptive position. Close your eyes if you wish. Take a few deeper breaths and reflect on this little bit of guidance from a book called Think Again by Adam Grant. It doesn't become the truth just because you believe it. It's a sign of wisdom to avoid believing every thought that enters your mind, and it is a mark of emotional intelligence to avoid internalizing every feeling that enters your heart.
Things have come to a pretty pass. Our romance is growing flat. For you like this and well, like all this and that. don't know what. And as if we two will never be one, something must be done. You say either, and I say either. You say neither, and I say neither. Either, either, we go neither. Let's the whole thing on. You like potato, and I like potato. You like tomato, I like tomato. Tomato. Let's call the whole thing on. So if you like pajamas, like pajamas, don't wear pajamas and give up pajamas. For we know we will each other somewhere. Let it go, nothing on. You say laughter and I say laughter. You say after and I say after. Laughter, 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 laughter. Let's go on. And you like vanilla and I like vanilla. You sarsaparilla and I sarsaparilla. Vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. Let's go the whole thing out. But if we go the whole thing out, then we must part. And if we so if you go for oysters and I go for oysters, I'll order oysters and give up the oysters. Oh, we know we need a truck, so we better call the calling on. Oh, for
Thank you, Matt. That you keep giving me a run for my money every Sunday. Yes, yes, of course. You're a company that is crucial, crucial. Yeah, right, right. No, not true. You're not a shadow. You are amazing and amazing together. So thank you both. And Emma and Bella, thank you both too. It's been so great watching the two of you grow up. And, you know, I think I've been a part of your family's ups and downs, and I very much appreciate having you in my life. And it's been great to celebrate some of your ups together these past couple of years as you're moving on into college. So I'm very proud of you. Yeah. But on the other hand, it's the title of my sermon. So occasionally, when I'm feeling down about the world, like the bad guys are winning, I like to watch actor Liam Neeson's Taken movie. It's about retired CIA agent Brian Mills, who springs to the rescue after his daughter is kidnapped by human traffickers. While on the phone with one of her attackers, Neeson delivers his most famous line ever. I'm going to do my best to sound a bit like Liam Neeson here. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I have acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. If you let my daughter go now, that will be the end of it. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you. Talk about a spoiler alert. That line is delivered in the first few minutes of the film and describes the entire plot and its ending. The movie is a straight line to Neeson's character fulfilling his promise to rescue his daughter by killing some of the evilest people imaginable. There's no ambiguity in this story. There's the good guy and the bad guys who are so vile that we are relieved to watch them go. Hollywood has a couple of tricks to help us walk out of a theater feeling good about having just witnessed the violent deaths of human beings. Both tricks accomplish the same thing by demonizing or dehumanizing the villains so that we don't have to acknowledge their humanity. They've become monsters that must die for the sake of humanity. The other trick is to cover their faces with masks or makeup so we can't see their humanity. I remember watching the recent Captain America film, my favorite comic book character as a kid, who piles up an immense body count by throwing dozens of masked Nazis off an airplane with the ease of tossing away a wad of paper. Unlike Neeson's film, I found his disregard for human life disturbing enough that I stopped watching Captain America. I was not convinced, I should say, that just because they were wearing masks, they weren't human beings. But the same trick is used more effectively in other movies. Horror films like Halloween, Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, as well as other superhero flicks like Batman and Avenger films, whose villains often aren't human to begin with, but jokers or penguins or aliens or demigods. In reality, the difference between right and wrong is seldom so discernible. And people, no matter how much we dislike or disagree with them, are a lot more complicated than Hollywood's masked villains or heartless psychopaths and monsters. 20 years ago, following 9/11, I got hooked on two hit television shows. 24, about counter-terrorist agent Jack Bauer, played by Kiefer Sutherland, and The Shield, about a group of crooked cops, starring Michael Chiklis. What I appreciated about these series is the moral ambiguity that I experienced watching them. 24 was about a good man who was routinely forced to do terrible things to protect the country and those he loved, things that slowly ate away at his tortured soul. The Shield was almost the opposite. It was about a group of crooked, violent, and murderous cops who often did good things. Viewers, including myself, couldn't help but root for them and want them to get away with their crimes. I was emotionally conflicted and psychologically confused. How could I want such evil men to get away with the things that they were doing? I'm guessing it was because we also saw their humanity, their struggles, their kindness, their loyalty to their friends, to their loved ones. And we came to care about these complicated individuals. I've begun this way, distinguishing these two ways of storytelling, to point out that life is much more like 24 in The Shield than Liam Neeson's Taken movies. The difference between right and wrong, whether ideological or moral, is seldom, if ever, easy to determine, especially when we acknowledge the humanity of others, even those we dislike and those we disagree with. Getting to what is true or right isn't a Hollywood plotline. The ideological choices that we make are at best based upon our best educated guesses and our moral decisions are usually a choice between the lesser of two evils, the least of which is often difficult to determine. That's real life. That's the predicament we are almost always in a state of ideological uncertainty and moral quandary. Some of us, however, like Liam Neeson's character, go about life as if they are certain of the truth and have absolute clarity about the right thing to do. So they feel justified in disregarding the ways and ideas of others, often dehumanizing them in order to achieve their own ends. This mindset and this attitude lead to extremism, which may feel reassuring to its convinced and confident adherents, but leads to much woe and injustice for those who disagree with their extremist positions. Such extremism is also an escape from reality that provides a false sense of security despite its destructive consequences. The unprecedented heat, fires, and boiling oceans that we've experienced just this summer are a frightening and present example of just how serious a matter it is when large swaths of humanity are incapable of coping with reality and seek to force their insanity upon the rest of us. We could have begun addressing global warming decades ago and prevented the terrible impacts we're now seeing. But the Republican Party has long refused to face this reality and has prevented the rest of us from doing anything meaningful about it. And today, even after the apocalyptic fires in Maui, they seem far more interested in prosecuting Hunter Biden than addressing the climate disaster their decades-long ignorance has led to. They're more concerned about forcing unwanted children into the world than about the welfare of those who are already here. Today, there are extremists on the other side of the ideological spectrum who have re-embraced the failed Marxist utopianism of the past, rebranding it as woke or wokeism. In their unconscious state, they ignore the evidence of the past and hate the present, which they are making miserable in order to create a future paradise that will be far worse than both the past and the present. Yet they pursue this dystopian end with the same extremist certainty as those on the far right, and like them are willing to dehumanize and destroy anyone who merely raises a hand to question their methods. Like Liam Neeson, they know the plot line of their story. They are the good guys, and those who disagree with them deserve whatever happens next. But reality requires us to be more like Jack Bauer in 24, conflicted about the difficult decisions we face and the inherent dilemma in all moral choices, appropriately humble and uncertain about our own beliefs, and troubled by the negative consequences resulting from our choices, especially in the ways it impacts the lives of others. And as with the characters in The Shield, we must not demonize those we disagree with. No matter how flawed they might be, we must acknowledge their inherent worth and dignity. Unlike Brian Mills, Neeson's character in Taken, we must question our own assumptions and consider the consequences of our actions. As my college philosophy professor, some of you have heard me say in the past, Wallace Rowark says in his book, wonderfully titled Think Like an Octopus, the reason behind many bad things that happen in the lives of individuals and society can be expressed in the words of a blundering friend of mine. I just didn't think about that. We have a moral and social as well as prudential obligation to think about that. Dr. Roark used to say we must learn to think on the other hand. Hence the title of his book, To Think Like an Octopus. We must think on the other hand, but 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 on the other hand, and on and on. Always considering other possibilities, always questioning our own ideas and beliefs. To demonstrate this, I want to offer two examples of thinking on the other hand. One is an example of an internal dialogue I've had with myself this week, and the other is an example of a societal conversation we ought to be having or holding, but are not. The first example involves a local story involving Spokane's mayor, Nadine Woodward, who got a lot of bad press this week, if you didn't notice, after being photographed on stage while allowing herself to be blessed and prayed for by former Washington State Representative Matt Shea. For those who don't know who Shea is, he's an extremely militant, right-wing Christian pastor who has called for Washington to be divided so that the eastern half can become a Christian state. He's been involved in training a Christian militia for a holy war and authored a manifesto on how its anointed soldiers can take over the country, including having targeted certain organizations and individuals. He's so extreme that his own party kicked him out after he'd been officially designated a domestic terrorist. Mayor Woodward is up for re-election, and given the results of the recent primary, her chances of winning are not looking good. Some have thus concluded she was willing to court Shea in order to win over his supporters. As someone whose church, our Spokane congregation, and who has been personally included on Shea's list of targets, I, more than many, have a right to feel disgust and betrayal over the mayor's association with this madman. But on the other hand, I have often imagined having an opportunity to meet with Matt Shea myself and to ask him why I'm on his list. My purpose would be to help him see my humanity and perhaps consider that others on his list are just as human. Perhaps he would ask if he could pray for me during such an encounter. And I'd say yes, out of respect for his religion and appreciation for the gesture. Maybe someone would take a picture of him praying for me. And maybe some who disagree with me about other issues would use it to publicly condemn and associate me with the far right, just as some have already attempted to do. But on the other hand, Mayor Woodward is a politician running for re-election, and her decision to meet with Shea wasn't to create mutual understanding, some say, but to appeal to those who agree with him in order to get every vote she can. As her opponent, Lisa Brown's campaign says, Shea and his supporters' dangerous rhetoric against members of the LGBTQ plus community and view on reproductive rights and many other issues are wrong for Spokane. Mayor Woodward's poor judgment in joining them is inexcusable. Statements like these make Woodward's actions hard to defend. But on the other hand, guilt by association is a logical fallacy and one of the oldest political ploys in the books. The GOP's obsession with Hunter Biden to discredit his father is case in point. And the statement by Lisa Brown's campaign came in the form of a mass text within 48 hours after the story broke, and it concluded by making a pitch to vote for Brown and join her campaign. It also seems only fair that we should take Woodward's own statement on the matter into account. I am deeply disturbed that Matt Shea chose to politicize a gathering of thousands of citizens who joined together yesterday to pray for fire victims and first responders, Woodward said. I attended the event with only one purpose, and that was to join with fellow citizens to begin the healing process. But on the other hand, as Sean Vestal wrote on the matter, Woodward chose to go up on that stage with Shay, and she stood rapt as he was praying, eyes closed, hands open towards heaven, his hand on her shoulder, smiling and nodding, and she never betrayed a hint of discomfort with any of it, right up to the hug she gave Shay at the end. But on the other hand, I'm a hugger. And if Matt Shea and I ever had a kind of positive encounter, no matter how much I might continue to disagree with him, I would probably hug him if the opportunity permitted. As the Unitarian saying goes, we need not think alike to love alike. It is possible for me to love people I disagree with. If I can root for the bad guys on a TV show, surely I can embrace the humanity of those I disagree with in real life. This back and forth process is usual for me, having been trained in philosophy. So I still can't tell you where I'm at with this particular matter, only that my conclusions about it are held tepidly and with humility, tempered by my commitment, no matter what I think, to always consider the inherent worth and dignity of every person involved, especially those I disagree with. The other example regards a topic I don't know enough about with to form a complete opinion on, which is probably why I've not spoken about it before now. I'm talking about the disagreement in our larger society over certain transgender issues, particularly providing certain kinds of medical treatment to children or teenagers, and the question over whether or not a trans woman is a real woman. On the one hand, I have more than one colleague who has a transgender daughter, a child who is biologically male but identifies as female. They've been supportive of their child's identity from the start by immediately referring to them by their preferred pronouns and names, sought professional advice, and allowed gender-affirming medical interventions while they were still minors. Their children are now adults living life as trans women. On the other hand, as parents, they have serious concerns about giving medical treatment that might have permanent effects, and potentially negative side effects to their kids who were still maturing and still figuring themselves out. What if they later change their minds, as some have, and want to detransition, but couldn't because of lasting impacts from so-called puberty blockers and surgeries? But on the other hand, they were told by professionals that trans kids who feel unsupported are prone to suicide, and not treating them risk their lives. A potentiality that would frighten the hell out of any loving parent. But on the other hand, is a primary caregiver or parent unsupportive and unloving for simply saying, no, not now, you're too young? I've known of many non-binary teenagers who were utterly rejected by their families, many of whom were forced to leave home at an early age, some of them living on the streets. That kind of cruelty and rejection of one's very being can certainly lead a child or anyone to dark and desperate places. But as a parent who wants to support their kids and is doing their best to figure out how best to do so, but isn't quite sure what that means, automatically unsupportive and uncaring? Does that automatically create an unloving environment? Then there's that question of whether a trans woman is a real woman. On the one hand, I have dear friends who are trans women, and I couldn't possibly relate to them as anything but women, never have. They are as healthy, mature, functional, and wise as anyone I know, even more so in some cases. I relate to them as women because that's how they present themselves and it would feel unnatural for me to see them in any other way. On the other hand, there are differences between someone who is biologically male or female and someone who is transgender. These differences are literally played out when trans women are, in many cases, allowed to compete in women's sports. Is it fair to allow those who have retained some of the physical abilities of having been born biologically male to compete against biological females? Especially when the results often show that they are able to leverage those abilities to overwhelming advantage. On the other hand, gender is just a cultural invention and isn't rooted in any kind of physical reality, or so some have argued. But on the other hand, what of biological women who have fought for equal rights, equal opportunities, and equal recognition for centuries? Women whom, after making great strides, are again being told by some that the only difference is that they are able to get pregnant, reducing their gender to the significance of a petri dish or incubator. But on the other hand, there are many ways to be maternal, and not every biological female chooses to or has the ability to birth children. Does that make them any less female? But on the other hand, almost every species demonstrates behaviors that are exclusively male or female. When a male peacock spreads its feathers to impress the females, and when the females are impressed, are they simply demonstrating cultural stereotypes? Is the instinct among gorillas to follow the most powerful male silverback genetic, or merely a cultural stereotype? Surely these behaviors are biological, not cultural. What are the innate behavioral differences between human males and females, and which behaviors are cultural overlays? I'd like to know. That'd be helpful. That'd be helpful, but we can't ask those questions, and we can't get those answers. So this is a rabbit hole I'm not going to go any deeper down now. My point in raising it today is because it is an incredibly divisive issue in today's society, yet anyone who raises these questions risk getting in big trouble, perhaps being attacked on social media, called transphobic, losing their jobs, and having their reputations destroyed. This is so because the issue is being treated like a Liam Neeson movie, in which the plot line is announced at the beginning of the story, and the end is headed for in a straight line, no questions asked. This is similar to many of today's most pressing issues. Today, many of us are unwilling to question ourselves, let alone allow others to question us. So we are divided on ideological lines instead of learning and growing through genuine dialogue, through genuine discourse, traveling with the dissidents. We hold to the pre-written plot line, demonizing those we disagree with, the bad guys, in the process. But to truly come to understand each other, and consequently to truly come to care for each other, and to grow and to progress together, we need to be allowed to genuinely converse. And that means we need to be allowed to ask questions. It means questioning ourselves It means thinking on the one hand, but on the other 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 hand, on and on and on. That is how society and the world together will solve our problems and overcome our challenges. It's how we will grow as individuals. And it is the only way that we can truly come to love one another. But on the other hand, no, I'm kidding. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Please stand as you're willing and able. Join me for number 301. Touch the earth, reach the sky, verses 1, 3, and 5. Touch the earth, reach the sky, walk on shores with spirit fly, over the ocean, over the land, on faith a quest to understand. Touch the earth, reach the sky, on the moon and on the shore. Life's the time left in between, to follow the star, to build a dream. Touch the earth, reach the sky, walk with courage and high. Spirit join as we fly, to touch the earth, to reach the sky.
Our benediction today is from British philosopher Bertrand Russell. In all affairs, it is a healthy thing now and then to hang a question mark on the things you have long taken for granted. Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.
Shalom, Hari, Shalom, Hari, Shalom, 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 Hari, Shalom,